Hello everyone, my name is Patrick. I'm here to give a speech about monitoring red tide with satellite imagery and numerical models, a case study in the Arabian Gulf. First, what is a red tide? Red tide is a harmful algal blooms result from large concentrations of aquatic microorganisms. It could be blue or green or brown. Depends on what species of microorganisms. And if water containing fertilizers or livestock waste flow into the sea, the water will transport nutrients and stimulate bloom events. Next, I want to show you where the Arabian Gulf is and some background knowledge. You can see the longitude and latitude, and this is the Arabian Gulf. It's also called Persian Gulf. It's a shallow marginal sea. Its mean depth is about 35 meters, and the length is about 1,000 kilometers. And the site from Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and United Arab Emirates. This side is shallow, and this side near the Iran is deep. And another special feature in Arabian Gulf is sandstorm. Sandstorm occurs frequently in Arabian Gulf, which brings high aerosol concentration. And the word aerosol means solid particle in air. And I'm going to talk about the 2008 red tide event. The red tide had destroyed tons of fish and marine mammals. It also did harms on the local agriculture and fishery. And furthermore, the red tide outbreaks could force desalination plants to shut down, pose a major threat to the potable water supply. And our study is for finding out the initiation and sustaining mechanism for the unusual long-lasting red tide event. And here are 4 kinds of satellite we use to get the data we need: the seaweeds, Maris, Aqua, and the Terra. By using satellite images with numerical models, we are able to analyze the red tide event. And in this graph, we can see the chlorophyll A concentration. And we can see which satellite we get the data and when the time we get data. And the color scale here is milligram per cubic meter. And you can see this spot is much higher, and the blank area is indicate no data due to cloud cover or dust storm. And you can see from August 26, 2008, this was only in this spot. High concentration is only at this spot. And it transported to most Arabian Gulf after a few months. And the algal bloom stopped at about July 28, 2009. The algal bloom lasts totally about 12 months. And this graph is about sea surface height. You can see the color scale here is sea surface height. And the arrow means the water flowing velocity and direction. And the water here is flowing offshore. So it forces a coastal upwelling and brings up the nutrient-rich water from bottom to the surface. You can see the water flowing offshore. So we find out that coastal upwelling trigger the alga bloom. You can see the time and the water, high concentration of alga bloom. And next, I want to talk about aerosol optical thickness. The AOT means if the AOT is low, then you can see the clear sky. And if the dust storm occurs, then the AOT is high and you can't see anything. And the color scale here is monthly anomaly. It means it is defined as AOT difference between monthly mean and monthly climatology. And this means we calculate the AOT in February 2009, comparing the time through 2002 to 2013. And the green part means there is positive difference between these two times. And positive anomalies were found in middle here, and the eastern Arabian Gulf along coastline here. And we can find that the dust deposition may have served as an important source of nutrient supply. You can see positive anomalies, and here along the coastline, the global 5A concentration is high too. And there are many challenges in the red tide observation. The first limitation in satellite observations include cloud cover and sun glint and dust storm. And the initiation phase was hard to capture because when the satellite image first captured the image of alga bloom, it has already formed. And we have a conclusion that this study highlights the needs of combining different platforms to establish a monitoring system for adverse water quality events such as red tide. My presentation is over.
Have the countries around this area done anything to deal with the red tide?
You want to know what the policy the region country may have. Okay. And
you have to fully repeat his question.
You want to know what were the surrounding countries they will do to prevent alga bloom, right?
Is that right?
Deal with the red tide.
Deal with the red tide. And I actually found some news from the Iran student news, and they have some policy from a manual collection the algae and herbicide and use tools and so on to deal with the algae.
How does the red tide cause impact on marine organisms?
You want to know how does the red tide impact on marine organisms? And the algae in the event will consume the oxygen in the water, and the marine organisms will have no oxygen to breathe, right?
What's the main component of dust to influence the seawater?
Pardon?
What's the main component to influence the seawater, of the dust influence the seawater?
You have to repeat the question.
What the main component of the dust to influence the seawater?
Main component dust.
Main component of the dust.
You want to know the main component of the dust and
The seawater.
influence the seawater.
Yeah.
Okay. So the research here, it only shows so it's a you can see these green parts are not normal comparing it used to be, and we didn't find out the main components about the dust storm, but we can only tell there must have been a lot of dust deposition in the region. So we don't know the component.
You say that in your data have some blank spot, and I want to know, is that common in your research?
Is that common? You want to know the blank area if it occurs frequently?
Yes.
Okay, so it depends. It depends on the weather that day. So it might be some. It might occur often too. So this blank we can further to use some underwater technology to analyze this blank area and combine them together, so we can get a whole data of the region. So it might occur, but it depends on the weather. If the weather is bad, then we can't see anything.
Compared to the Upwelling and the dust deposition, which one will have more ability to cause the red tide?
You want to know which one impact more at the initiation. So this is our first data at August 26th, and we are much more sure that it is caused. The initiation is caused by upwelling. It's much more convincible that it occurred by the upwelling, and the dust deposition is only to maintain after the initiation.
I want to know how do you define algal bloom? Like how how gram per cubic meter.
You want to know what the standard for alpha blue, the concentration of the fluorofluoride. Oh my, I don't know.
You don't know?
I didn't find out.
Okay.
So I think you would agree with me that Patrick gave a nice talk. So he spoke very fluently and calmly, slowly, and his slides were quite comfortable to read, and you understand all of his words. So that's all very nice, very good for scientific communication. So I will specify some of the specific strengths in his talk. Yeah, as I said, you see that his font was really large, keywords highlighted, etc., many figures. Okay, and then what was really nice was he presented these kinds of graphs very nicely. So he's not trying to say, okay, he just showed the figure and then he say this is high concentration, that is low concentration. He will guide you through the scale bar. First, telling you what the red color means and what the other color means, so you know this graph better. And then because in the paper there are many graphs like this, so he showed one large graph, introduced it very carefully, and before he showed many more graphs. And then he also explained some of the difficult terms, so I especially appreciate the way he introduced AOT. Where is this? Okay, so he introduced it. In order to introduce the scale bar, he showed these photos, so you know right away what high AOT means, what low AOT means. So as I always say, an image worth 1,000 words. So it's really nice. And also he explained what the monthly anomaly means. So these are all very well explained. So now what can he improve next time? So the first thing we all notice is that his talk was too short. So let's take a look at his paper. All right, so as we see, there are many chlorophyll A figures, and he skipped this, that's fine. And many more figures, all right? Okay, and actually, let's say based on the QA session, what I think you can add into your introduction is, first, although you talk about aerosols in your introduction, you are mainly talking about its impact on economy, like this. However, what the others were asking is, what was in the aerosol, and what does it do to the water chemistry, and why can it sustain algal bloom? So that's what you should mention next time in your introduction. That will probably add 30 seconds to your talk. And then another thing which I think you should improve next time is, here you were really like just describing each graph. However, we noticed that there are many time points here. And at some point, it was actually already 2009. I didn't really notice that. So next time, it would be really great if you can give us a timeline. And you can say these are graph 1, 2, 3, 4, and where are they on the timeline? And you can have a timeline for the chlorophyll A, and then a timeline for the aerosol, because I actually don't remember actually. This is not aerosol. And a timeline for upwelling, and a timeline for aerosol. So we know the sequence of events, so it's easier for us to understand its cause and effects. That may probably also add another 30 seconds. And lastly, regarding your conclusion, the conclusion was actually too general. Too general means it tells us nothing, because I can know this without listening to your talk. So a good conclusion is something that you use to wrap up your talk. So you have to give very specific conclusion. For example, as you answer some of the question here, what really triggered the algal bloom based on the study, and what maintained the algal bloom in the study based on the study. These are what I think specific conclusions. So you have to give us some bullets. It's not like this, very specific conclusions. So this will reinforce our impression on your talk. I will probably add another 15 seconds. All right, and let's see if there's something to add. I would suggest you might consider adding one more figure here. I cannot tell which one is better, but please add more figures to make 10 minutes. Okay, so let's thank Patrick.